Hey guys, this is Tyler here. It's December here in Estonia, and I want to discuss a quick topic here, and that is the impact of virtual reality and augmented reality on dating and how it's going to become bigger in the next 10 years, especially for Generation Z here. Okay, so I've spoken about augmented and virtual reality, very interesting technology. This is something that we kind of saw in the movies probably 30 plus years ago. It was first being shown. People were kind of getting an idea of what this was, and more recently I think it's become something that I think can actually happen in a very real way. We might remember like Oculus Rift. This was a big startup. It was purchased by Facebook 5 years ago, and they had one of the first like market ready products that was about virtual reality. And I think virtual reality, whether it's being used for like driving or airplane simulation, or to help train people in jobs or in medicine, whatever it is, and then it can also be applied into like fields like relationship dating and into kind of simulated environments in a sense, and even more intimate environments like kind of bedroom action, we might say. These are all like real possibilities, and as time continues, as we move on, especially with the plight of the dating market and relationships for many men out there, especially in Western countries, many are actually liking the idea of this augmented virtual reality because they can essentially get like kind of a simulated environment where it's all positive. There's essentially no negative because it's all built into the programming. It's all built into the code and the machine learning algorithms. This is built in such a way that it's just simply a positive experience. And perhaps if someone wants some of that negative, that can also be built in here. And there's obviously kind of these, we'll say, intimate dolls that are actually already in the marketplace, and I think these are becoming more and more real. They're making these things as real as a human with each passing year, and so these intimate dolls are definitely growing in popularity, especially for guys that can't really get the real thing. And both this and the augmented and virtual reality is certainly catered, I think, for both guys that are perhaps into dating and relationships, but also for guys who are not, who still want maybe that kind of experience, or people who don't really care anyhow. They just find it a unique. And I think like with dating apps, because they have produced so little success now for the past few years in many countries, and many guys feel left out, these kind of technologies like the augmented virtual reality, the intimate dolls, these are all things that they won't leave guys out. And I know that Sandman has mentioned they also won't leave women out. Essentially, it can be a win-win experience for both men and women. And I think that's obviously too an effective way to market them so that both parties don't feel left out. I think maybe it will be more of a complementary experience for younger guys. Maybe guys will use these kind of as a certain crutch, or to supplement if they're kind of in a dry period, so to speak, with a relationship or dating, and they can use this to supplement. They may still want the real thing, but they use this kind of as an alternative for the time being. This augmented and virtual, like I said, is actually a solution, unlike dating apps, that can meet 100% of people's needs because it's all based on computers and on technology. There's no human component really involved here, which is different than the dating apps, which initially were much more useful for the broad market. Now they're very ineffective for the majority of guys, whereas this new technology can actually benefit all guys. And the overall cost of using it, the cost benefit analysis is very good when you look at what a guy's getting from this and what they're getting in return. The payoff is like, whether it's augmented reality, VR, or the intimate dolls. Even with the intimate dolls situation, I mean, if someone was paying like maybe $10,000 for one of these, I mean, if you were using it enough over time, I mean, it would be, I guess, worth the investment, so to speak. And it would certainly make up for the cost of using it, or even more. It could probably even be sold for a higher cost when you consider what in real life going on dates and maintaining a relationship, the cost of that could be higher, and also just emotional, the stress of that could be much higher. With like the intimate TOW, you don't have like all the stress, and the emotional turmoil isn't really in the picture. This can all be kind of left out. And I think also with the VR and augmented reality, it's the same scenario here. Very good cost benefit analysis. There's of course different ways they could design this. They can VR or AR could make it an experience where a guy could actually like travel to a foreign country and like an international dating simulation, and essentially be like they were traveling to the country, like Russia, say, and they were on a date with a Russian, and then they go out and then eventually go back to like their apartment or something. This whole environment could be like kind of like simulated. It's very fascinating when you look at the possibilities here. And this could also be an effective solution for a guy who's in a long-term relationship or marriage. This isn't something guys really discuss, but if you were, say, kind of needing a break, mental break, or you're needing some variety, we might say, you could essentially get onto the VR or have your intimate TOW and kind of have that maybe separation period from your actual significant other, and then maybe go back to that long-term relationship or marriage and just continue on, or just do both at the same time. And you're not really cheating in the way that it would be if you were with something that was human, if there was a living being involved. Obviously, when you're looking at affairs and all the problems that arise here, that you don't have that in the equation. And also, you don't have the other human problems like children and other family and friends in the equation. So it's actually a much less stressful situation here. Another effective use also for guys that still are pursuing the real thing is they could use the VR, AR environment or the intimate TOW and basically use it to practice, to improve their skills. If they were still preferring real life dating, real life relationships, they could use this to kind of improve their skills, just like the VR can be used to improve driving skills, or in medicine or in engineering it can be used for the same purpose. Same way here, you can figure out what works. They can design this in a way so it can show you how well, what are your skills with a date or dating, the compatibility, how to know, like from a scientific perspective, how to know like how compatible the chemistry with the other person is. And the intimate TOW part, I guess, to improve those skills in the bedroom, so that when I guess the real situation came along, you would, I guess, have these skills more refined. And I think also, as Sandman has pointed out, there would be less guys, less desperate men going for all these very so not so attractive gals, or just women in general, because this would be a viable alternative. Instead of oversaturating this attention on women, it would be saturated on the TOW or the virtual reality, or kind of diverting their energy there, which could be a fantastic alternative to the current paradigm where your average woman is being way oversaturated with attention. And this obviously would serve as a very viable pathway for those guys. I think the biggest challenge, though, with VR, AR, and with intimate robots, we'll say, and not as much for younger guys, I think, because younger people especially are more into virtual world, virtual environments and situations. They don't need the human contact, face-to-face situations as much, but I still think there is an audience, even in younger demographics, that need that, is how to simulate, how to get the face-to-face connection there in that environment. That's probably the most difficult part of the equation, and for me on a personal level, that's the most difficult part for me to look at and to use is how to get that, is to have that impact or that effect where it's actually like you're talking around a real person. And yes, some guys, they won't care. Being in this type of simulated environment is more than enough. It may be even better than the real life environment because you don't have the negative aspects of it. But for other guys, maybe they want some of the real. Some guys want maybe some of the negative and the drama to feel real, to feel like they're in a real environment. And perhaps this could also be integrated into these technologies. But time will tell on how this develops in the technology. But I think it'll be very interesting the next 10 years in this area. So give me your feedback below, and thank you.